Welcome to the Inbound Back Office Podcast, where we chat with smart agency owners about agency challenges. I'm Holly Reed, strategist at Inbound Back Office, plug and play back office support for your marketing agency. Today on the show, I'm so excited. We are welcoming Jake Brown, who is a good friend of mine and CEO of Air Balloon Advisory, to talk to us today about how to use delegation to get results using his Gold Meddle Delegation strategy. Welcome, Jake.
Hey, Holly, it's glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm happy we got this on the schedule, and I'm excited to chat with you about everything you've been doing and this delegation. But before we dive into that, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and what you do?
All right, sure. So my background, I came up in agency life. I did some in-house marketing, was a graphic designer, illustrator, became a creative director, communications director, worked inside of agencies, worked inside some really bad cultured agencies, and then helped rebuild 3 agencies in my career and got them, up and profitable. 2 of them got sold, and then I left and found somewhere else to be. And then now what I do is I actually work with a lot of agencies to kind of help them not find themselves there. I work with them to we all got into this for something fun. We enjoyed what we did. We did a craft. We had an art. There was something that we loved. And then we find 80% of our time now is done businessing. And we kind of feel trapped, and we want to get back to what we loved. And that's really what I do. I help people. I give resources and hang out with people and try to get them back to where they get to do what they love again.
Yeah, and the thing that I love about you is you're all about fun, and your emails that you send out are super fun and funny, and that is like your center, right? Like fun is at the center.
It's definitely one of my pillars. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong. It's just there's a life is too valuable to spend it not enjoying.
Yeah. So let's dive into this Gold Meddle delegation. And the way that you spell metal, it's not a typo. So if you see this on the podcast, he's spelling it MEDDLE. It's not a typo. There's a meaning behind it. So let's dive into that.
Well, do you want to talk about delegation, or do you want me to tell a quick story on how that sheet came to be?
Oh, stories are great.
All right, awesome. So to start off, I have a book, Leadershit, coming out, and this is one of the resources in that book that I share. And what happened is I was stuck at an agency with a really bad boss, and we couldn't get information out of the boss. So every time we would do a project, at the last minute, the boss would show up and just change things, move the goalposts. And, we were always wrong. So what that taught us was that we couldn't trust the information that we got. So we shouldn't try on the first round. It was just, what's the fastest thing we can turn out so that we get corrected, so we get the information.
Right.
So it was this, and we've all kind of been there. And what we did is I needed the boss to stop meddling in projects. So that is why it's called Gold Meddle, MEDDLE.
Awesome.
And it came out, we were actually, the Winter Olympics were going on when we came up with this. So the worksheet's actually based on downhill skiing.
Nice.
And you can look at it and all the like icons and all the imagery, it makes sense. But the idea was, if we could trick somebody into giving us all the information so that we didn't have to restart, like, so that they weren't meddling, so that at the end of the day, I'll know it when I see it, or that's exactly what I was asking for. And you're like, that was not what you were asking for. It's what you need. But we got there. Totally. So we came up with this worksheet to get us there. And then we turned around and realized that it actually worked for clients. We actually replaced all of our client briefs. We started with this worksheet because one day we realized that clients, like all of your client work, they're actually delegating the work to you.
Right.
Like, it's the same idea, only clients are the worst delegators. I mean, don't tell them that, but they show up and they're like, I need a new website because, I need a new website because I need my phones to ring. And you're kind of like, there's a lot of steps in between there. Like, you're asking for the wrong thing. And or, somebody's like, I don't like that one. Can we make it purple? It's my wife's favorite color. And you're like, what on earth?
Like,
no.
And you don't get that information until after the first round every time.
The third round.
Or the third round. Yeah.
They're like, I'm not feeling the jazz yet. Like, I had somebody say that not too long. I'm like, not feeling the jazz. Like, what are you talking about? I don't even know what you're talking about. Or they're like, it just doesn't pop. Everybody hates the word pop. It's that ongoing joke. But if you can set this up, what happens is you walk them through it and you get the information from them. So that's kind of the backstory. Is like, it was during the Olympics and we just had to figure out how to survive the boss garbage. Really,
Yeah.
we needed her to, we needed the boss to stop meddling. So
Yeah.
came up with this worksheet, and just some of the key things that are in the worksheet. Like I'll give it to you. I mean, like I said, it's going to be in my book, but I think you're going to put it in the notes so people can download it and have it
Yeah.
as well.
Absolutely.
So the first thing that you talk about is the description. Just what do you want to achieve? Like what is this project? Why does it, like, what is it? So that people
Yeah.
know what, how to find it. And then why is it important? Like, what is that outcome? Like kind of why are we even doing this?
Yeah.
Which is usually a pretty simple thing. That why is always a simple answer, but it's hard to get it out of people. Like, why are we doing this? We need to make more money. Great.
Yeah.
Why are we doing this? We need more engagement on social media. Why are we doing this? Some people, it's like, why are we doing this? Well, I just don't have time to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, the client doesn't have time to do this, so we're doing it. That's
Right.
why. Like, they're paying us to do it for them. Great. And then there's a column that's for the details.
Yeah.
And this is just the random things that they're included, that the client gives you, or that the boss, whenever it's handed off. And I like to categorize them. I say there's two things. There's required and there's optional. Because people will give you a list of things, and a lot of times it's their brainstorm as an ignorant, and I don't mean that bad. I mean, they're
Yeah.
not the expert.
Right.
And they go like, I think it'd be great if we did this because I read a blog on it last week. And you're like,
Right.
awesome, Google let you down. Like, that's not how
Yeah.
this works. That's not how any of this works. So when you go through, if people give you that information, you can figure out what's required and what's optional.
Yeah.
And what I used to teach a lot of my staff to do, like if there's an AE talking to somebody or a strategist talking to somebody, is they would actually go through and see how many of the optional ones we could mark out.
Yeah.
Because I'll get to it in a second, but there's really two ways to handle a project. Like I said, I'll get there in a second. And then at the bottom, it's success. What outcomes are you expecting?
Yeah.
So when you think of the skiing, as they're going downhill, all of those details that are like required and optional, those are the flags that they're weaving around and dodging. Like you have to make it around all the flags. If you miss the flags, it doesn't count,
Right.
That's the
Right.
idea. What are the required ones? You have to go around those. The optional ones, ignore those.
Yeah.
Those aren't required. Throw some in if you can, especially if you need goodwill with the client.
Yeah.
But really, if you're owning the outcomes, if you're owning the project, if you're responsible for this thing to work, then it doesn't matter if it's purple.
Yeah.
If it's purple, it might not work.
Yeah.
Let's make a tow truck add purple. Like, that's probably not going to work. It's gonna it's
Yeah.
counterintuitive.
Well, and a lot of clients are like, I think I want this, but they don't actually know for sure. They're
Right.
looking to the expert.
Yeah, and they think that they're helping you
Yeah.
like it's the idea of like, I don't want to tell you that I don't know what I'm asking for, so I'm going to give you a bunch of random details. And my
Right.
thought is always, the purpose of this sheet is like the success. What outcomes are you expecting?
Yeah.
This is actually the most important thing.
Mhm.
Because if I get you to the other side of the bridge, if you are over here, you're going to be happy and pay me.
Right.
So with clients, it works. Now, inside the office, if the boss is handing off a project, I gave this worksheet to everybody who worked for me and everybody else in the agency. And the idea is, if I was handing off a project or I was handing off a job, whether it be a client project or an internal project,
Yeah.
like, hey, we're going to update our website, or we want to research the possibility of doing this webinar. I was supposed to fill this out before I handed it off.
Yeah.
Because if I hand off this information, then what that does is it would give you everything you needed. And then there's one more thing that's coming that I love. But it would give you what you needed. And I knew that I could trust this worksheet.
Yeah.
And that's the big thing. When a lot of people delegate, I just can't delegate. I can't figure it out. When somebody won't give us work, we feel like they don't trust us.
Right.
But the truth about delegation is they don't trust themselves to hand it off well.
That's a good point.
You have to train yourself to trust, which is a really, really hard thing. Every parent knows that.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just hard. So on the worksheet down the right side, there's the basic stuff: the date, the from, to, the due date, the budget, any of that kind of admin type stuff that I call it the sandbox.
Yeah.
It's the stuff that holds the project in. And then my favorite part is actually, we call them levels. And the idea is this part right here came from watching the Winter Olympics. We were at the office and we would take our lunch break. We had the big screen, the conference room, and we were watching the Olympics, and they were going down. And this one guy gets to the bottom and, clicks off his skis or whatever. And he's like looking around. He doesn't know how to get out of the gate at the bottom. Like, he comes down, he crosses the finish line, he stops, and he's lost. He doesn't know what to do. Like, he just competed at the Olympics and now he doesn't know where to go. And
Yeah.
it dawned on me that when we finish tasks, a lot of times, like for instance, if I delegated something to you, like you're working on something for me, well, you checked off all the boxes and everything, but now it's kind of like, how do you get it off of your plate
Right.
that continues to build trust? And what I did is on our team, we talked about it, and we decided there are 4 levels of what to do with your plate. And what it means is after you're done, I'm just going to read them to you. 1, you complete exactly as I told you.
Yeah.
You check it all off and you do exactly as you're told. That's the end. Nobody needs to know about it or anything. You just get it done. The second one is you make a recommendation and
Yeah.
then I will take it back. Like now there's a task on me to either make a decision or to move it forward or deliver it. Like it is now my responsibility to move forward.
Yeah.
The next one is you act and just update me.
Mm.
Like you own it. It's on you. I know you can do it. Just let me know in case somebody asks me. Because what that's doing is training me to later not ask for the update.
Right. And it's showing trust, right? Between the person who's delegating and the person who's doing the project. It gives them this level of autonomy. And sometimes the person that has the plate is scared, right? To just make a decision. And so you have to grow that relationship and that trust.
For sure. And that's one of the cool. Okay. And then the fourth one I want to say is you act, no update required.
Right.
That is just hey, this is yours. I don't ever hear about it again. Just make this go on.
Yeah.
That's my favorite one to get
Me
to.
too. Me too. Just get it done. I don't want to
know. like with kids, go clean your room. Just go. I don't
care how you do it, how long it takes. Just get it done.
For sure. So with those 4, one of the things I liked is when we started using this is I could hand something off. Like you mentioned about that building trust and somebody's not sure. I could say, hey, I want you to make the decision and then update me.
Yeah.
Like that level 3. Hey, and we would actually write the number. Like we'd circle it on the sheet or we'd say, hey, this is a level 3 task. And we got that vernacular in our
that's
minds.
nice.
So then say, okay, you act, or say I'm sorry, say I said it's a number 4. You act and I don't want an update. Yeah. It's yours, it's on you. And you say, can we make this at least a 3 or can we make this a 2 this round? Next month, I'm fine running the social media. I'm fine running the SEO ads. Like everything's great. If I do it next week, but I would really like to talk to you before we go live this month.
Yeah.
Because what that tells me is I trust you more than you trust you.
Yep.
And you get a chance to trust, like you're asking, what you're saying is you might not trust you, but you also might not trust my information in the beginning.
Right.
And I need to train you as well to the point where, so the way I define trust is people people do what they say they're going to do.
Yeah.
And you know it.
Yep.
Like, you know that somebody's going to do what they say they're going to do.
Yeah.
Because sometimes if you want somebody to trust you, what you have to do is say what you're going to do, then do it, and then remind them that you did it.
Exactly.
Because you start closing that loop. So anyway, that's how the worksheet works. And it's something that's pretty simple, but it gives ownership to, like, you tell somebody, this is how much authority, how much ownership, how much autonomy you have in the project.
Yeah.
And you can even break it into phases where it's like, hey, I want you to do the research and bring it back. Okay, I like this. These are the ones that I like. Now I want you to go put together a plan and bring it back.
Yeah.
Or you can say, do the research, make a plan, pitch it to the client. I really don't care about it. Let me look at the proposal to make sure the numbers match up.
Yeah.
I mean, you see how the project can be as big as you want it to be. The leader can be as out of it as they want to be.
Yeah.
And at the same time, when you're working with a client or you're working with the boss, you can use the sheet to pull the information. If somebody's delegating to you, how do you pull the information? And a lot of times, my favorite question when somebody tells you to do something, or they say, I'm going to challenge you to do this.
Right.
Like, that's so negative. But if somebody says, I'm going to challenge you to do this, or, I want you to do this, you can say, okay, do you want me to just run with this and take it all the way to the finish line? Do you want me to run with this and bring it back to you for you to make a decision? Do you want to have a conversation to talk about where I am in a week? Like, if you get to that last point, what level is this? Then after I finish the race, I cross the finish line. How do I get out of here? Like, how do I wrap this thing up? Because that was my biggest frustration with bad delegation. Yeah. And I was horrible at it at first. And that's when I realized that I loved the people that I work with. And I trusted them. Yeah. I just did not trust that I was doing right by them when I handed off projects. Totally. And I didn't trust the system of, this is what I want. You go do it. Does it show up right? which if you want to get into that, there's something, it's called the 10-80-10 principle. And it's amazing. It's that the leader should only be involved in the first and last 10, like the first 10% and the last 10%.
Yeah.
The 80% in the middle should be carried by the worker. They should get to own it. They should get to grow and really carry that work. And there are 3 outcomes of the 10-80-10, and that is, if you delegate something, if you hand it off, you launch it well, and then they do their 80% work, and then you come back together to grade. You grade against what was launched, this Gold Meddle Delegation sheet. You're grading against this, not your new ideas that you've had drinking.
All right.
You're grading back here. And what you're saying is, when I launched it, did you land successfully for what was launched?
Yeah.
And if it is, you celebrate it because you've just built trust. Because when you grade, if you change the goalpost, you just taught them not to trust you.
Right.
That's the second outcome, is they go, well, I'm going to hold back because I'm going to have to do this whole thing over again once they know what they're talking about.
And nobody likes to do that.
Nobody. That's actually that's the number one reason people leave agencies. Staff leaves because of moving goalposts. But pretty interesting idea that you're asking people to risk and be creative, but the only stability is kind of the jumping point. And if you keep changing the jumping point, there's no stability, and nobody wants to risk if everything's unstable.
Well, and it brings out a good point too, because clients can often do that, right? And if you're the project manager or whoever, the strategist setting up the expectations, it can kind of get worse, right? If the client's doing that to the point person on the project, and the point person isn't stepping in that gap and saying no, then they frustrate everyone that's underneath them that's doing all the actual work, right? And there has to be this level of ownership where that person who takes on the project goes, hey, remember, this is what we talked about. Because if you're using the worksheet, which I think the worksheet is genius, because it puts down on paper, especially that part of what level is this? Is it like, do you need to keep reporting to me or not? And all the ones in between. That is down on paper, because I've worked with people a lot of times that are like, no, you don't need to check in. And then I don't, or whatever. And then they're like, wait, I didn't say to do that or that. And I'm like, you gave me ownership or whatever. Hasn't happened a ton, but it can happen. It can frustrate people. Right. Sure. And so, but having it in writing, like, this is a level 3 or this is a level 4, or, hey, we're still at level 1. It also shows growth for the person being delegated to, that, hey, I can grow in this. And like, they can see I'm getting way more level 4 projects now. Like, I've built a lot of trust, or like, they have the freedom to say, hey, this one's something new for me, so let's do a couple level 1s or level 2 rounds of this.
And the part where we really it was crazy when we started implementing this as part of a series of things that we started using, but we just got, huge increase. Our profitability just kind of started skyrocketing over a course of 2 years using this and a couple other tools. And the main thing was, we got to the point where we started calling it, we would laugh, and when we talked to new clients and stuff like that, we called ourselves a no revision agency. Because we would have edits, but we didn't have to do revisions, because like, we would go into a project, and if it's a client that says, just do what I said, and that you're just churning, they're going to give you the content, you're just spitting out exactly what they said. Basically, you're not deciding or thinking, you're just churning stuff out. First off, we got rid of those clients real fast. We figured out which ones they were, and we just didn't want to, that wasn't what we were great at. But then there were the other ones where, if you're getting into that level and you go, what is expected? The boss wants that. This is from legal. We just have to put it on the letterhead. Knock it out. Make it so small that people can't read it. That's what we need. Fine. That's what we're doing.
The fine print.
So we would do that, and that's exactly what's expected. And especially if it gets to a designer, where, say, it's a recipe book. Well, is this a recipe book based on something else where you don't have anything, or is this a recipe book that you can have fun with?
Right.
Just a random,
Are you cooking or baking?
And it's just the idea of, like, how far does the creative get to have fun with this project, or is it just production, knock it out? Are we just churn and burn? Or is it, hey, come up with some ideas. Let's present them with, this is what you asked for, but we could go here with it. Like, you get that spectrum of how far can we take this thing, and how fun can it be? And then what happens with all of our clients is they begin to trust you. And then when you do your presentations, you don't go back, you're not trying to pitch it and wow them and convince them that you're right or how clever you are. What you're doing is you're going, this is what you ordered.
Yeah.
This is what I delivered you. And you go like step by step, and you go,
Yeah.
hey, you asked for this is where we did it. You asked for this is where we did it. You asked for this, we did it these two ways. Which one do you think resonates best?
Yeah.
And what happens is, instead of them grading you how they feel like, I mean, if they had like a bad breakfast burrito, who knows what they're going to say about your work?
Yeah.
But if you come back and you're grading against the launch,
Yeah.
then what happens is it's a solid thing. And
Yeah.
if it's like who owns the outcomes, another thing is, if you launch this and they say you just do what we told you to do, and then at the end of it you're like, look, nobody clicked on your purple ads, Mr. Tow Truck guy.
Yeah.
You can go back and say you owned that. You wouldn't let us own it.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to be nice about it. You say, remember when we recommended this, but you really wanted us to do it your way? We're more than happy to dive back in. Let's do a second round and let's really, let us take ownership for the outcome. But the idea of you don't own the outcomes, or you don't get the blame a lot of times if it's not yours. Because a lot of agencies, we operate like we have to take the blame to keep the client, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
The clients think probably more likely the clients want to blame us when their ideas aren't professional, or, they don't work. It'd be like, if I tried to go install a new toilet, no plumbing experience whatsoever, and it goes bad, and I'm like, yelling at some plumber on TV or on YouTube because I watched this video. Like,
Well,
anyway.
and this sheet helps kind of show whose ownership it is. Like if they come with all these
100%.
demands or whatever, and it's like, okay, this is just do what I say, then it's like, you can defend that like the result falls on them, right? And then
I don't want to say it's defend. It's not that it's like defensive, but I see what you're saying. Like you can look at it and you can go, you can justify your work.
Yeah,
really
exactly. Yeah. But I think that helps too. The part that I really liked that you said, where I think it helps, is the success outcome piece. Because if that is achieved, right, and they're okay with you having that kind of creative juices in the middle, right, then, like you said, they're going to be happy as long as the outcome is there. And if that trust is built between the client and the agency, also between a boss and an employee or whatever, and the outcome is achieved, they're going to start to trust you more and see like, okay, I may not have done it that way, but the way you did it still achieved the outcome we wanted. So that just creates more ability for them to trust your creative process.
For sure. And the further you can get into those levels, think about how much that frees people up.
Oh my gosh.
So the example that I tell a lot of people is, at our house, we got 4 kids, and we have kind of a chore stack. People graduate into chores, and one of them is when they're 5 years old, they start cleaning the toilet.
Yeah.
And you want to guess how well a 5-year-old does at cleaning the toilet?
My kids love to clean the toilet, and they're little.
Well, but the quality of the cleaning,
it's not great.
Not good. But so you've got the 5-year-old cleaning it, but the older kid who's been cleaning it for a couple years is really good at it now.
Yeah.
And they teach the 5-year-old how to do it. And then the 5-year-old cleans it, and then the other kid has to circle back because it's their job to make sure that it's clean.
Yeah.
So if the 5-year-old cleans it and it's not so great, then the 8-year-old swings back around and they clean it. Like, it's usually done right at that point. It never makes it all the way up to like the 13-year-old. Like,
right.
But the idea of when they're 5, it's not good.
Right.
But by the time they're 6, it's actually really good. Like, to be honest, most of my kids clean the toilet better than I do. Probably they're really detailed. So when you're delegating, you have to remember that, like, with clients or with new people or just even yourself learning to delegate, you kind of have to. It's going to be sloppy. It's going to be iffy. But like I said, this worksheet helps out. If you remember the 10-80-10, like your real goal is, like I said, there are 3 outcomes at that last 10%. Either you celebrate, like, hey, you did what you said you were going to do. You validate their work and you build trust, or you say, no, I lied to you. Here are the real directions. You ruin trust. Or there's the middle one where you say, hey, I see how you were working and get there. But maybe they weren't quite there. And you get to coach them. You get to kind of lean into that growth or whatever. So that next time, they don't clean the toilet like a 5-year-old. They clean the toilet like a 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 8-year-old. Like, and then one other tidbit on delegation that I want to say, because this is, I think, huge, especially in the creative world, is clients delegate to us because they're failing at something.
Right.
And if you go back to school, failing's just bad, right? And when you're failing, you don't want anything great. When you're failing, your only desire is to pass.
Yeah.
And if you think about, if you get a 70 or an 80, you're ecstatic.
Yeah.
When what you want to do is pass, right? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
depending on school, 78, that's like, you can hit honor roll, right?
Yeah.
You get 80%.
Right.
So, but as creatives, we look at it, and a lot of times we drive for that 100%. Like, we're looking for that A+, but that's not what our clients need a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're in charge, or we've got 20 years experience, 10 years, 5 years, whatever, when you have that experience, and if you're delegating it to somebody else on your staff, is it your ego that's driving this project forward? And are you actually hurting your client by charging them more, or by driving them further than they need?
Right.
So the thing is, if you look at it and you go, especially in the early stages of delegating, if you hand it off to somebody on your staff and they're pretty green or whatever, or they're taking their first stab at it, you can coach them and go further. But the hardest part is to look at it and go, that's 80% good. It's
Yeah.
not good enough for me. I would expect more of myself. But that's
Yeah.
80% good. That's better than the 40% that our client was going to have on their own.
Yeah.
Can I approve this? Can I validate the work that my team did? Can I validate the
Right.
work that this person did, and then coach them so that next time it's not it's not an 80%, it's maybe an 85.
Yeah.
Is it passing? Does it serve the client well? And can we
Yes.
serve them better in the future?
Yeah.
Because again, that's the second place where people start meddling.
Yeah.
Like, I've gone into agencies where the creative director's kind of in the back of the room, and he can see over people's shoulders, and he's talking to them while they're working. Like, he's looking at their screen, and he's like,
Oh my gosh.
backseat driver. And I'm
That's the
like,
worst.
well, you gotta be kidding me. Hey, have you thought about maybe doing this? And I'm like, what are you doing? Like,
I
you are
know.
paid way too much to sit there and stare over their shoulder.
Well, and people in their creative process, like, and like, I'm an external processor with speaking, right? So
Right.
like, I don't believe half what I say until like I get it all out and figure out what I'm actually trying to say. And same with creatives, right? Like,
Yeah,
they're going to change things all the time, right?
That's right. Yeah, I say that to my wife all the time. I'm like, I'm not talking to you yet.
Yeah.
Like, let me organize all this. I'm not talking to you yet. I'll pull it together at the end.
Totally. Totally. Well, before we wrap up, is there any other tidbits you want to add? I mean, you gave a lot of gold here. So I think if people just like sit and take notes, download that worksheet that we'll put in the show notes. But is there anything else you want to add?
Yeah. Well, it's hard. Trust, delegation and stuff like that is hard because, like I said before, we always think about it's trusting other people. It's really learning to trust ourselves.
Yeah.
Am I serving other people? We don't want to let people down.
Yeah.
So we either just throw stuff. We used to call it the goose.
Yeah.
Somebody just flies in, takes a dump on your desk, and flies out. Like, don't do that, and don't change on people.
Yeah.
But download the worksheet, look at it.
Yeah.
And if you want other stuff like this worksheet, there's a bunch of other things in my new book. It's kind of a memoir of me going through bad experiences at an agency and how I found a way to develop myself, and then the people that were working for me, and how we kind of grew together and started having fun at work. The book's called Leadershit with a T at the end.
Love it.
In the intro, it explains it. It was a typo that I had that was just too perfect to pass up.
Yeah.
And it was an interoffice memo that just had a typo. But it's tales and tools to survive a bad boss and have fun at work. And at the same time, it's for if you have a bad boss, or kind of if you're afraid or you think you might be becoming a bad boss or whatever, you just want to be better about treating people and kind of leaning into it together. So that should be out now as the podcast goes live. And if you want to learn more about it, you can go to leadershit.co.
Yep.
But really, serve your people, serve your clients, serve them well. And one of the best ways you can do that is to delegate clearly and cleanly.
Yeah. And I love the cover, I have to say. I love the cover of the book. I love the font, everything. Yeah, it's so creative. It's so good. I'm glad you have it there. Like, I mean, everyone, I'm going to buy this book. Everyone needs to go buy this book. Jake is hilarious, so I cannot wait to read the book, and he has the best stories. So go get this book, learn either how to be an even better boss or how to survive it if you have a bad boss and grow yourself in the midst of the chaos. But I guarantee you it's probably gonna be entertaining and also really educational. So definitely go get it. So also they can go to that website to get the book. Is there any way people can connect with you online?
So yeah, I mean, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. But honestly, if you go to leadershit.co, you can get a hold of me right there.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, Jake, thanks for coming on. I'm so excited. Congratulations on your book launch.
Thank you.
It came out August 15th. This podcast goes live on the 18th. So the book is out. Go get it.
Awesome. Man, it has been a blast, Holly. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And everyone, thank you for listening to the Inbound Back Office podcast, brought to you by Inbound Back Office, plug and play back office support for your marketing agency. And you can find Inbound Back Office at inboundbackoffice.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, send this one out to all of your other agency owner friends and employees so they can get the book too. And we will see you next week.